The Grand Council chamber on Prime was filled with representatives from 300 star systems. Supreme Chancellor sat at the center of the circular room, listening to reports about trade routes and mining operations. It was supposed to be a normal day. Then the emergency signal came through. Straightened in his seat as a holographic display appeared above the council floor. Commander Vex's face looked worried, which was unusual for the veteran officer. "Chancellor, we have a situation at 7, Vex said. "An unknown vessel has appeared near our mining colony." The council chamber went quiet. Unknown vessels were rare. The Empire had ruled this part of space for thousands of years. Every ship, every species, every civilization was cataloged in their databases. There were no unknowns. "Show me," ordered. The hologram changed to display a ship floating in space near an asteroid field. The vessel looked strange. Its hull seemed to be made from different types of metal welded together. Some parts looked smooth and new, others rough and old. The design made no sense according to engineering principles. "Have you tried to contact them?" asked. "Yes, Chancellor, we've sent greetings on every known frequency. No response." Vex paused. "There's something else. This ship appeared without triggering any of our early warning systems. It's just there as if it materialized out of nothing." Murmurs spread through the council chamber. That should not be possible. The Empire's sensor networks covered every approach to their territories. Nothing could slip through undetected. "Send your battle group to investigate," commanded. "Follow standard protocols, scan it, identify it, and if it poses any threat, destroy it." Vex nodded, and the transmission ended. Turned to his advisors. "How long until we have more information?" "Commander Vex should reach the vessel within 2 hours," replied Chief Analyst, a thin with gray skin and large eyes. "His battle group includes the flagship and 2 escort cruisers, more than enough to handle one unknown ship." But looked concerned. He had been studying the image of the vessel, and something about it bothered him. 2 hours passed slowly. The council continued with other business, but everyone kept glancing at the main display, waiting for an update. When Vex's transmission came through again, his worry had turned to alarm. "Chancellor, the vessel is not responding to our presence. We moved to scanning range, and the moment we got close, it activated some kind of warning lights. We attempted to withdraw, but then it moved." "Moved how?" asked. "It should not be possible, Chancellor. The vessel accelerated to speeds that would tear apart any ship we know. It weaved through the asteroid field, making turns without slowing down. Then it vanished from our sensors completely." "Cloaking technology," suggested one of the council members. "No," Vex replied. "It reappeared on the opposite side of the system, 3 light minutes away. It didn't travel that distance. It simply appeared there." The council chamber erupted in confused voices, stood up, his eyes wide. "Commander, are you certain about this?" "I have the sensor logs. My crew witnessed it with their own eyes. Whatever this vessel is, it operates on technology far beyond our understanding." Felt a cold sensation in his chest. The Empire was the most advanced civilization in known space. They had conquered or absorbed every other spacefaring species they encountered. The idea that something out there possessed superior technology was difficult to accept. "Return to base, Commander," ordered. "We need to analyze this data." Over the next several days, reports came in from across the Empire. The unknown vessel, now designated Unknown One in official records, had appeared in 3 different star systems. Each time, it stayed near Imperial military installations or colonies. Each time, it simply watched without making hostile moves. And each time, it demonstrated capabilities that should not exist. Worked day and night analyzing the data. He discovered a pattern that made his blood run cold. "Chancellor," he said during a private meeting, "Unknown One is not lost or damaged. Every system it visits has recent military activity. It's watching us, studying us." "For what purpose?" asked. "I don't know, but whoever built this ship wants us to know they can go anywhere in our empire without being stopped." Panic spread through the outer colonies. People heard rumors about a ghost ship that could appear and disappear at will. Some colonies began evacuating. Others demanded more military protection, though protection seemed useless against something that could bypass every defense. Admiral, the Empire's top military commander, requested an audience with the council. He was an older with scars from many battles. He had never lost a fight in his long career. Chancellor, we cannot allow this vessel to make fools of us, said. I request permission to set a trap. We will lure it into an ambush and destroy it. Consider this. You believe you can succeed where Commander Vex failed. Vex was cautious. I will not be. This unknown vessel has demonstrated speed and unusual movement, but it has not shown weapons. Perhaps it has none. Perhaps it relies on running away. Very well, agreed. But be careful, Admiral, we still don't know what we're dealing with. Prepared his trap carefully. He positioned 12 warships inside a dense nebula along a major trade route. Then he sent a supply convoy through as bait. If Unknown One followed its pattern, it would appear to observe the convoy. The plan worked perfectly. Unknown One materialized exactly where predicted, floating between the convoy and the nebula. All ships fire, commanded. Energy weapons lit up space as 12 warships emerged from hiding. Beams of concentrated power converged on Unknown One from multiple angles. It was the kind of firepower that could destroy a small moon. But Unknown One did not explode. A shimmering barrier appeared around the vessel, like nothing had ever seen. The barrier was not solid and not quite energy. It seemed to drink in the weapon's fire, absorbing it and scattering it harmlessly into space. When the barrage ended, Unknown One was completely undamaged. Then it did something that shocked everyone. The vessel broadcast a transmission on every frequency. The message was simple, a mathematical sequence that any civilization would recognize as a greeting. Following the sequence were coordinates to a location in neutral space. Unknown One vanished again before anyone could react. Reported his failure to the Council. For the first time in his career, he admitted he did not know how to fight this enemy. It wants to talk, said, studying the coordinates. This is an invitation. Or a trap, argued. Made his decision. We will send a diplomatic mission. Ambassador will lead it. Was a member of the species, one of the Empire's peaceful member races. She had resolved many disputes through negotiation instead of war. I will go, Chancellor, agreed. But I believe we should prepare for the possibility that we are not the most advanced civilization in the galaxy anymore. Those words hung heavy in the council chamber. For the first time the Empire faced something they could not simply conquer or control. As diplomatic ships prepared to depart, a second vessel appeared. It was identical to Unknown One, and it materialized directly over Prime, in orbit around the Empire's capital world. Ambassador's 3 ships traveled through space toward the coordinates Unknown One had provided. The journey took 5 days, and during that time more reports flooded in from across the Empire. Unknown One and its twin vessel were not alone. 7 more ships had appeared, each with the same strange design and impossible capabilities. They showed up at Imperial outposts, near military bases, and around contested territory where the Empire had recently expanded its influence. They never attacked, but their presence alone caused chaos. Studied every scrap of data they collected. He worked without sleep, driven by the need to understand what they faced. On the 3rd day of his journey, he made a discovery. Chancellor, he transmitted to, I found a pattern. These vessels only appear at locations where we have used military force in the past year, every single one. Felt his unease grow. They are judging us. Or gathering evidence, replied. Look at this. He sent images showing the paths of the unknown vessels. They are documenting our expansion, recording our methods. They know exactly how we operate. Meanwhile, panic spread through the Empire's outer regions. 3 colonies declared independence, believing the Empire could no longer protect them. Pirates began raiding supply convoys, knowing the military was distracted. Some worlds even welcomed the chaos, seeing it as an opportunity to break free from control. The Grand Council met in emergency session every day. Half the members wanted to launch an all-out military assault. The other half argued for caution. We cannot appear weak, insisted Counselor, a militarist. Every day we delay makes us look more helpless. Our member worlds are losing faith. Our member worlds are losing faith because we keep making the situation worse, countered Counselor, who represented the commercial guilds. Admiral's ambush failed completely. What makes you think more violence will succeed? The debate was interrupted by news from the frontier. One of the unknown vessels had left debris behind after its last appearance. A patrol found fragments floating in space near an abandoned mining station. "Bring it here immediately," ordered. "I want full analysis." The debris arrived within hours. Examined it with a team of the Empire's best scientists. What they found explanation. The fragments contained metals and alloys that should not exist in stable form. The molecular structure violated known principles of physics, but more disturbing were the markings they found etched microscopically into one piece. "These are mathematical proofs," said, projecting the images for to see. "Engineering diagrams. This shows how to build a propulsion system that operates on completely different principles from ours." "Why would they leave this for us?" asked. Pointed to another section of the etching. "There's a message here. In Galactic Standard, the trade language, it says, from the third planet." "The third planet of what system?" "That's what troubles me, Chancellor. I searched our databases. The only reference to a third planet in our recent expansion zones is in Sector Sigma 9, but we classified that entire region as uninhabitable." Pulled up the sector information. Sigma 9 was a dangerous area of space filled with radiation storms, gravitational anomalies, and unstable stellar activity. No intelligent life could survive there. The Empire had surveyed it centuries ago and marked it as worthless. "Could we have been wrong?" wondered aloud. Ambassador's ships reached the designated coordinates. She found herself in an empty star system on the Empire's far frontier. There was nothing there except a small red sun and some lifeless rocks. Then the 7 vessels appeared. They materialized around ships in a perfect circle, close enough to be intimidating but not threatening. Felt her heart racing. This was the moment everything would change. A transmission came through in perfect Galactic Standard. "Ambassador, we have been waiting. Are you ready to talk?" The voice was calm and measured. It sounded almost friendly, which somehow made everything more unsettling. "I am," replied. "Who are you? What do you want from the Empire?" "We are humans," the voice answered. "We come from a world called Earth, located in the region you call Sigma 9. We want what any civilization wants, to exist in peace without being conquered or destroyed." Felt shock run through her. "There is intelligent life in Sigma 9, our surveys showed nothing." "Your surveys were conducted from a safe distance. The region is dangerous, yes, but it is our home. We have lived there for thousands of generations. We learned your languages by intercepting your communications. We have been watching your empire for 10 years. 10 years? They had no idea they were being observed. "Why reveal yourselves now?" asked. "Because your empire is expanding toward our territory. Your military has established installations in neighboring systems. Your communications indicate plans to colonize areas close to our worlds. We needed to ensure you understood that Sigma 9 is inhabited and defended." One of the human vessels moved closer to his flagship. She could see it more clearly now. The ship was not primitive as she had first thought. It was sophisticated, but designed according to principles they had never considered. "We did not mean to threaten you," the human voice continued. "We meant to prevent a war. We wanted to show your leadership that we are not a species to be conquered or ignored. We hoped you would choose negotiation over conflict." Another transmission came from one of the human ships. "Ambassador, I am Captain Jake. I command this exploration fleet. May I propose something? We would like to invite you aboard one of our vessels. We want to show you who we are and what we represent." Hesitated, her security officers immediately protested. "Ambassador, this could be a trap," one said. But thought about the situation. If the humans wanted to harm her, they had already demonstrated they could destroy her ships with ease. Instead, they were offering conversation. "I accept, Captain," she said. She took a small shuttle across the empty space between ships. As she approached the human vessel, she saw details she had missed before. The hull had markings in a language she did not recognize. The ship's windows showed movement inside, people working at stations and equipment. The docking process was smooth. When the airlock opened, stepped into a corridor that looked surprisingly normal. The gravity was slightly heavier than she was used to, but manageable. The air smelled different, carrying scents she could not identify. Captain was waiting for her. He was tall and lean, with dark hair and brown eyes. His uniform was simple and practical. Next to him stood a woman he introduced as Dr. Lisa and a man named Engineer Ben Carter. "Welcome aboard the Wanderer," said. "Thank you for coming." They led her to a meeting room with a large window looking out at the stars. sat across from the three humans and studied them carefully. They looked confident but not aggressive, curious but cautious. "Your ships," began. "The way they move through space, the shielding that absorbed Admiral's attack, how is this possible?" Ben Carter answered, "We developed our technology out of necessity. Earth sits in the middle of Sigma 9. The radiation, the gravitational shears, the stellar storms, everything your empire considers too dangerous for settlement is just normal conditions for us. We had to build ships that could survive that environment. We didn't have the luxury of colonizing easier regions first," Doctor added. "We had to solve problems most species never face. Our propulsion systems work differently because conventional systems failed in our space. Our shields are stronger because anything weaker gets destroyed by natural hazards within days." Leaned forward. "Ambassador, we are not here to conquer your empire. We are not interested in war. But we have studied your history. The empire does not negotiate with species it considers inferior. It assimilates them." "Could not deny this. That has been our way for a long time. We wanted to change the nature of this conversation," continued. "We needed your leadership to see us as equals, not as primitives to be conquered. That's why we demonstrated our capabilities. We showed we could go anywhere in your empire, anytime we chose. Not as a threat, but as proof that we cannot be dismissed." "You caused panic across our territories," said. "Yes," admitted. "And we regret that. But panic was better than war. If we had remained hidden until your military entered our space, the first contact would have been violent. This way, we forced a different kind of first contact." Who had been listening to the conversation through's communication device suddenly spoke up. "Captain, this is Chief Analyst. May I ask a question?" "Of course." "The debris you left behind, the mathematical proofs and engineering diagrams, why share that information?" Smiled slightly. "To show good faith, we could have kept our technology secret. Instead, we offered knowledge that could benefit your civilization. We hoped it would demonstrate that we prefer cooperation to conflict." Back on Prime, listened to everything. The implications were staggering. Humanity possessed technology the Empire desperately needed. But more than that, they had outmaneuvered the Empire completely. They had shown strength, offered friendship, and forced them to make a choice. The negotiations began immediately. Chancellor ordered a secure communication link established between Prime and Captain's fleet. Ambassador remained aboard the Wanderer as the primary liaison. Worked tirelessly, analyzing every detail about humanity that he could gather. What he discovered both amazed and worried him. "Chancellor," reported during a private briefing, "humans evolved in conditions that would kill most known species within hours. Earth's gravity is 30% stronger than ours. The radiation from their sun requires biological adaptations we do not possess. Their atmosphere has 21% oxygen, which is toxic to many species in those concentrations. Studied the data, they evolved in a death world." "Exactly, and it shaped everything about them. Their technology is not elegant like ours. It is practical, redundant, built to survive extreme conditions. Look at this." Projected an image of a human spacecraft engine. "Our engines are efficient and refined. Theirs are crude by comparison, but they work in environments that would destroy ours completely." Admiral joined the discussion. He had been quiet since his failed ambush, but now he spoke with grudging respect. "They are survivors, warriors by necessity, not by choice." "There's more," continued. "I analyzed the debris they left us. The mathematical proofs show they discovered faster-than-light travel through a completely different method than we did. They did not follow the same technological progression. They solved problems in their own way. Understood the implications, which means they may have solutions to problems we have never solved." "Yes, and we have solutions to problems they face. The potential for cooperation is enormous." Meanwhile, aboard the Wanderer was learning about humanity directly from its representatives. Had given her a tour of the ship, and what she saw challenged everything she thought she knew about spaceship design. "This corridor has 3 separate life support systems," Ben Carter explained as they walked. "If one fails, the others keep working. If all 3 fail, there are emergency supplies that can keep the crew alive for days." "That seems wasteful," observed. "Why not build one perfect system?" "Because perfect systems can fail," Carter replied. "In space near Earth, we deal with radiation bursts, magnetic storms, gravitational anomalies. We learned that redundancy keeps people alive when perfection fails. Doctor showed the medical bay. Our medicine developed differently too. We had to deal with diseases and conditions unique to Earth. Our doctors learned to improvise, to work with limited resources, to save lives under terrible conditions. Earth sounds like a harsh place, said. It is, agreed. But it is also beautiful. The diversity of life, the strength of our ecosystems, the way everything adapts and survives. Earth taught us that life finds a way, even in the worst conditions. Invited to join them for a meal, the food was strange to her but not unpleasant. As they ate, explained more about human culture. We are not a single unified government, he said. Earth has many nations, many cultures, many languages. We argue and compete and sometimes fight among ourselves. But when faced with an external threat, we come together. That sounds chaotic, said. It is, but it also makes us resilient. If one approach fails, another succeeds. If one nation cannot solve a problem, another finds a different solution. Our diversity is our strength. Transmitted all of this information back to Prime. The Grand Council debated constantly about how to proceed. Some members still wanted military action. Others saw an opportunity. Counselor presented an economic analysis that got everyone's attention. If we go to war with humanity, we will lose regardless of the military outcome. The disruption to trade has already cost us trillions. But if we establish peaceful relations, the economic benefits could be enormous. Explain, demanded. Human technology could revolutionize our industries. Their propulsion systems could reduce travel times by 40%. Their materials science could double the of our ships. Their medical advances could cure diseases we have struggled with for centuries. But they need resources that are abundant in imperial space. They need rare metals for their manufacturing. They need agricultural products from our gentler worlds. Trade between our civilizations would benefit both sides enormously. The commercial argument swayed many council members. War was expensive. Peace with trade was profitable. But not everyone agreed. A faction of military officers, led by General Victor, believed the Empire was making a terrible mistake. Had served in the imperial military for 40 years. He had conquered 12 worlds and crushed 2 rebellions. The idea of negotiating with any civilization offended his sense of superiority. We are showing weakness, argued in a private meeting with his supporters. Every species we have ever encountered learned to respect our strength through force. Now we negotiate because one species showed us fancy ships. This will inspire every member world to demand independence. What do you propose? Asked one of his fellow officers. We wait, we prepare, and when the time is right, we strike. Began quietly gathering resources and loyalists. He knew he could not move openly against the Chancellor's peace efforts, but he could prepare for the moment when the Council's resolve weakened. Back at the negotiation site, made a proposal too. Ambassador, we would like to invite a delegation of Imperial scientists to visit one of our research stations. We want to demonstrate our commitment to cooperation. Transmitted this offer too. Chancellor, I believe this is genuine. The humans are offering to share knowledge freely. Made his decision. Accept the invitation, will lead the delegation. Was thrilled and terrified. He selected 5 of the Empire's best scientists and joined aboard a human transport ship. The journey to the human research station took 2 days. The station orbited a planet in the Sigma 9 region. Through the windows, could see the world below. It looked violent and unstable, with massive storms covering half the surface and volcanic activity visible even from space. That is one of our colony worlds, explained. 70 million people live there. How? Asked in disbelief. The conditions are terrible. By your standards, yes. By ours, it is just another world that needs careful management. We build our cities underground. We use the volcanic heat for power. We harvest minerals from the lava flows. It is not easy, but it is possible. The research station was impressive. Human scientists worked alongside their equipment, studying everything from new propulsion methods to biological adaptations. They welcomed the Imperial delegation warmly. Doctor introduced to her team. We have been studying ways to make space travel safer and more efficient. We would like to share our findings with your scientists and learn from your research in return. Over the next several days, and his team worked with the humans. They exchanged information, compared methods, and discovered that combining their knowledge produced better results than either side could achieve alone. Your theoretical understanding is more advanced than ours, admitted two, but our practical solutions work in conditions you have never tested. That is why cooperation makes sense, replied. We each have something the other needs. Returned to Prime with a comprehensive report. Chancellor, I strongly recommend we proceed with formal diplomatic recognition. The benefits far outweigh any concerns. The Grand Council finally voted. After days of debate, they approved establishing official relations with humanity. The vote was close, revealing deep divisions within the Empire, but had his mandate. And met via holographic communication to discuss the details. We propose a border agreement, said. Sigma-9 and the 13 neighboring systems will be recognized as human territory. In return, we will establish trade agreements and scientific cooperation. Agreed, said. But I must ask, why did you approach this situation the way you did? Why not simply contact us directly? His expression grew serious. Because we studied your history, Chancellor. The Empire has encountered 47 spacefaring species since you achieved interstellar travel. Every single one was either absorbed into your empire or destroyed for resisting. We could not risk being number 48. The words hung in the air, could not deny their truth. We needed to show we were strong enough to defend ourselves, continued. But we also wanted to show we preferred peace. We walked a fine line, trying to demonstrate capability without provoking war. You succeeded, acknowledged. Your strategy was brilliant and frustrating in equal measure. We hoped you would see it that way eventually, said with a slight smile. Preparations began for a formal treaty signing. A neutral station on the border between human and imperial space was chosen as the location. Representatives from both civilizations would attend. But as the plans moved forward, General made his move. He had spent weeks gathering support among military officers. His network spread across multiple sectors, all of them believing the Empire was making a fatal mistake. The treaty signing will be the perfect opportunity, told his inner circle. When all the leadership is gathered in one place, we strike. We destroy the human vessels, kill their representatives, and blame it on extremists. The Empire will have no choice but to respond with force. One of its officers, Lieutenant Danny Foster, had growing doubts. He had read reports. He understood the economic benefits of peace. And he had a brother who served on a civilian ship near Sigma-9. His brother had sent messages describing encounters with human traders who were friendly and helpful. Foster made a difficult decision. He ceased communications and brought them to. Sir, I believe there is a conspiracy to sabotage the peace, Foster said, his hands shaking as he handed over the data. Reviewed the information and felt his blood run cold. We must inform the Chancellor immediately. Listened to Foster's evidence with growing anger. General has served the Empire for 4 decades, but this betrayal cannot be ignored. We need to act carefully, advised. Has support among the military. If we move openly against him, we risk a wider rebellion. Made a secure transmission to. Captain, we have a situation. There is a faction within our military planning to attack during the treaty signing. I am sharing this information because I believe you need to know. Appreciated the honesty. Thank you, Chancellor. Should we postpone the neutral station designated for the treaty signing sat at the border between human and imperial space? It was a small facility, built decades ago as a trading post before being abandoned. Now it had been hastily repaired and prepared for this historic moment. Ambassador arrived first, leading a delegation of imperial diplomats and scientists. Accompanied her along with Lieutenant Foster. The young officer looked nervous, knowing what was about to happen. Captain arrived with his own delegation. Dr. and Engineer Carter stood beside him, along with representatives from several human colonies. They boarded the station and greeted the imperial delegation warmly. Today changes everything, said to as they shook hands. Let us hope so, replied, though her eyes betrayed her worry about its planned attack. Chancellor attended via holographic projection, as did other members of the Grand Council. It was safer this way, given the threat they knew was coming. The ceremony began, and stood before the assembled witnesses, preparing to sign the non-aggression and mutual recognition treaty. The document was simple but profound. It recognized humanity as an independent civilization with sovereignty over Sigma-9 and neighboring systems. It established protocols for trade, scientific exchange, and diplomatic relations. Most importantly, it committed both sides to resolving disputes through negotiation rather than force. "This treaty represents a new chapter," said through the hologram. "For the first time in our history, the Empire acknowledges another civilization as our equal." Responded with equal gravity. "Humanity accepts this treaty in the spirit of mutual respect and cooperation. We look forward to a future of peace and shared prosperity." As they prepared to sign, alarms suddenly blared throughout the station. 3 Imperial warships emerged from faster-than-light travel nearby. They were modified cruisers, their weapons powered up and targeting systems locked onto the station. "Unknown vessels, identify yourselves," the station's automated defense system demanded. General's voice came through on all frequencies. "This is General Victor of the Imperial Third Fleet. The treaty you are about to sign is a betrayal of everything the Empire stands for. I cannot allow it to proceed." On Prime's holographic image remained calm. "General, you are under arrest for conspiracy and treason. Stand down immediately." "You have grown weak, Chancellor," replied. "The Empire I served my entire life does not negotiate with inferior species. It conquers them. Today I restore our honor." Ships opened fire. Energy beams lanced through space toward the station. The people inside braced for impact, expecting death. But the beams never reached their target. Human vessels materialized between the station and warships. Their shields activated, absorbing the incoming fire just as they had absorbed Admiral's ambush weeks before. Spoke into the communication system. "General, this is Captain Jake. Your attack has failed. I ask you to stand down before more lives are lost." "You have no authority here, human," snarled. "This is an internal Imperial matter." "It stopped being internal when you fired on a station where my people are present," replied calmly. "But I am not interested in fighting you. I am offering you a choice." More ships appeared. These were loyal Imperial vessels commanded by officers who supported the peace treaty. They positioned themselves alongside the human ships, creating a combined defensive wall. Admiral's voice joined the conversation. "This is Admiral. I stand with Chancellor. You have served the Empire with honor for many years. Do not end your career like this." Hesitated, he had expected an easy target, not a coordinated defense. He had assumed other officers would join him once he struck the first blow. Instead, he found himself alone and outnumbered. "My crew," said to his officers, "prepare for full assault. We will break through their lines and complete our mission." But on's flagship, his second-in-command, made a different decision. Commander Helen Pierce had served under for 10 years. She respected him, but she also understood that his attack was wrong. "General," Pierce said quietly, "I cannot follow this order." Turned to her in shock. "What did you say?" "Sir, you are my superior officer, and I have always trusted your judgment. But this is different. You are asking us to murder civilians and start a war that will destroy the Empire. I cannot do that." Other officers on the bridge nodded in agreement. They had followed because they respected his service record, but attacking a diplomatic ceremony crossed a line they could not accept. Looked around at his crew. He saw the same expression on every face. They would not follow him into this madness. "You are all traitors," said bitterly. "No, sir," Pierce replied. "We are loyal to the Empire, but the Empire is changing, and we have to change with it or be left behind." On the other 2 ships in its attack group, similar scenes played out. Officers who had doubted the conspiracy found their courage. They disabled weapons systems and opened communication channels to the defending fleet. "This is Commander Pierce of the Imperial cruiser Triumph. We surrender. General is relieved of command." Slumped in his chair, defeated. His grand plan had collapsed not through military force, but through the moral courage of his own crew. Watched the situation resolve without bloodshed and felt relief. "Chancellor, the threat has been neutralized. Shall we continue with the ceremony?" "Yes," replied. "But first, I want to say something to everyone listening. General's actions today do not represent the will of the Empire. They represent the fears of those who cannot adapt to change. But change is necessary for survival, and we will adapt." The ceremony resumed, and signed the treaty while security teams quietly arrested and his conspirators. The moment was less grand than originally planned, but somehow more meaningful. The treaty had been tested before it was even signed, and it had held. After the signing, spoke privately through a secure channel. Chancellor, I appreciate you warning us about the attack. It showed trust. You responded with restraint when you could have used overwhelming force, replied. That also showed character. Perhaps this partnership will work after all. There will be more resistance, cautioned. Not everyone in your empire supports this treaty, and not everyone in human space is happy about it either. We have people who fear the empire's power and want to remain isolated. Then we must prove them wrong together, said. We must show that cooperation brings better results than conflict. Over the following days, news of failed attacks spread throughout imperial space. The public's reaction surprised many analysts. Instead of sympathy most people expressed relief that the treaty had survived. The chaos of recent weeks had convinced many that peace was preferable to continued uncertainty. Several imperial worlds that had declared independence changed their minds and rejoined the empire. Others negotiated for greater autonomy within the imperial structure, used the situation to push through reforms that had been blocked for years. The empire must evolve, told the Grand Council. We cannot continue ruling through force alone. We need to give our member worlds reasons to stay besides fear of our military. Councilor supported these reforms enthusiastically. The economic benefits of the human treaty are already showing up in our projections. Trade routes are stabilizing, commerce is recovering, but we will lose these benefits if we return to old ways. Even Admiral, the military commander, admitted the situation had changed. I spent my career believing in strength through conquest, but I watched General's own officers refuse to follow him. That taught me something. True strength comes from having people who follow you because they believe in you, not because they fear you. Ambassador became the Empire's primary representative in dealings with humanity. She established an embassy on the orbital station above Earth, and her reports back to Prime described a world that both fascinated and terrified her. Earth is chaos, she wrote. Billions of humans, hundreds of cultures, constant change and competition, yet somehow it works. They argue and debate and disagree, but when they commit to something together, they achieve remarkable things. Visited Prime for the first time as an official guest. He toured the capital, met with council members, and gave a speech to students at the Imperial Academy. The galaxy is large enough for many civilizations to thrive, told the students. Competition is natural, but it does not require conflict. Humanity and the Empire have different strengths. By working together, we can accomplish things neither of us could do alone. Worked with human scientists to establish joint research programs. The first project focused on improving faster-than-light communication, combining human practical methods with theoretical knowledge. Within months, they achieved breakthroughs that neither side had managed alone. Lieutenant Foster, the officer who exposed conspiracy, received a promotion and a commendation for courage. Personally thanked him during a ceremony. You put loyalty to truth above loyalty to rank, said. That is the kind of officer the Empire needs. Foster felt proud, but also aware of the difficult choice he had made. Turning against a superior officer went against everything he had been taught. But seeing the treaty succeed and peace prevail confirmed he had made the right decision. General faced trial for his crimes. The proceedings were public, broadcast throughout Imperial space, showed no remorse. I did what I believed was necessary to preserve the Empire's strength, said during his testimony. History will judge whether I was right or wrong. The court found him guilty, but imposed a lighter sentence than expected. Instead of execution, was sentenced to exile on a remote colony world. Made this decision deliberately. General served the Empire faithfully for 40 years before his final act of betrayal, explained. His punishment should be proportionate to his entire career, not just his worst moment. Perhaps in exile, he will have time to understand that the Empire he tried to save was already changing, and change was necessary for survival. As the weeks passed, the partnership between humanity and the Empire grew stronger. Trade began flowing in both directions. Human medical technology helped cure diseases that had plagued imperial worlds. Agricultural methods improved food production on harsh human colonies. But both sides knew this was just the beginning. Real trust would take years to build. There would be disputes and disagreements. Some people on both sides would never accept the partnership. Met with one final time before returning to human space. We have started something important, Chancellor, but maintaining it will be harder than establishing it. 6 months passed since the signing of the treaty. The border station where the ceremony took place had grown into a bustling center of activity. Ships from both civilizations docked there daily, carrying traders, scientists, and diplomats. The station had been renamed Unity Station, and it symbolized the new relationship between humanity and the Empire. What started as a desperate attempt to prevent war had evolved into genuine cooperation. Dr. Lisa worked in one of the station's research laboratories alongside a team of Imperial scientists. They were developing improved shield technology by combining human practical engineering with theoretical physics. Try routing the power through the secondary grid, suggested as they tested their latest prototype. Made the adjustment and watched the readings. The stability increased by 15%. Excellent. A young human technician named Greg Barnes monitored the equipment. He was fresh out of Earth's academy, excited to work on the frontier of human-imperial cooperation. Greg had a talent for understanding alien technology that impressed even the scientists. Doctor, the energy distribution pattern is almost identical to the simulations, Greg reported. I think we are close to a working model. Their work had practical applications. The new shield system could protect ships traveling through dangerous regions, opening up areas of space that were previously too hazardous to explore. Both civilizations would benefit. Engineer Ben Carter led a different team working on propulsion systems. He collaborated with Imperial engineers to create hybrid engines that combined the best features of both technologies. The results exceeded everyone's expectations. We can reduce travel time between major worlds by 35%, Carter announced during a presentation to both Imperial and human leadership. And fuel efficiency improves by 20%. These engines will revolutionize space travel. Trade between the civilizations flourished. Human colonies needed rare metals and agricultural products that were abundant in Imperial space. The Empire needed certain compounds and materials that were common in Sigma 9 but rare elsewhere. The exchange proved profitable for both sides. Ambassador had established a permanent residence on Unity Station. She worked long hours managing diplomatic relations, resolving disputes, and facilitating cooperation. Despite the challenges, she found the work rewarding. 6 months ago, we were preparing for war, reflected during a conversation with Captain. Now we are planning joint exploration missions. The change is remarkable. Visited the station regularly to oversee human operations. He had become respected by both sides as someone who balanced idealism with practical wisdom. The change is fragile, cautioned. We have supporters on both sides but also opponents, people who believe we made a mistake. Was right to be concerned. Whilst conspiracy had been stopped, the sentiment that drove it still existed. Some Imperial officers believed the Empire had surrendered its dignity by negotiating with humans. Some human colonists feared the Empire would eventually betray them. Lieutenant Danny Foster now worked as a liaison officer between human and Imperial military forces. His decision to expose plot had earned him respect from both sides, though it also made him enemies among factions. Foster noticed concerning patterns in intelligence reports. Small groups on both sides were communicating secretly, sharing grievances about the treaty. Nothing concrete, but enough to worry him. Sir, I think we should increase security monitoring, Foster told during a briefing. Do it, agreed. But carefully, we do not want to appear paranoid or undermine the trust we are building. Chancellor faced similar concerns on Prime. The reforms he pushed through after his arrest had improved conditions for many member worlds, but they also upset traditionalists who preferred the old ways. Chancellor, 3 more worlds have requested greater autonomy, Counselor reported during a council session. They cite the human treaty as proof that the Empire can negotiate rather than dictate. Grant their requests, decided. Within reasonable limits, we must show we are willing to change. Not everyone on the council agreed. Some members worried that granting autonomy would lead to the Empire's collapse, but understood that the alternative was worse. Force could maintain control temporarily, but it could not sustain an empire forever. Admiral, surprisingly, became one of strongest supporters for reform. The old warrior had spent months reflecting on his betrayal and his own assumptions about power. I spent my career believing the Empire's strength came from our military, admitted to privately, but commanded loyal troops and they still refused to follow him. I learned that true loyalty cannot be taken by force. It must be earned. On Earth, the planetary government debated whether to expand their presence in galactic affairs. Some leaders argued for caution, fearing the Empire would eventually become a threat. Others wanted to seize the opportunity for growth and influence. Attended these debates via communication link from Unity Station. We demonstrated our strength to protect ourselves, he told the Earth Council. But we should not become what we feared. The Empire is changing because we forced them to see us as equals. If we continue proving that cooperation works better than conquest, we set an example others will follow. The Joint Exploration Initiative became the centerpiece of human-imperial cooperation. Mixed crews of humans and prepared to venture into regions of space neither civilization had fully explored. The first mission targeted a sector beyond Sigma-9, where gravitational anomalies had prevented detailed surveys. A joint crew of 20 people, half human and half imperial, would spend 6 months mapping the region and studying its unique conditions. Commander Helen Pierce, who had led the mutiny against, volunteered to command the imperial portion of the crew. Greg Barnes was selected as the human technical specialist. Other crew members included scientists, engineers, and support staff from both civilizations. This mission proves we can work together under challenging conditions, Pierce said during the departure ceremony at Unity Station. We are not just allies on paper, we are partners in discovery. The mission launched to widespread public attention. News broadcasts on both sides followed the crew's progress. People who had been skeptical about the treaty found themselves interested in what the joint mission would discover. Meanwhile, Foster's security concerns proved justified. A small group of extremists, both human and imperial, planned to sabotage the exploration mission. They believed that if the mission failed catastrophically, it would prove that the two civilizations could not work together. Foster's intelligence team intercepted their communications just days before the planned sabotage. He immediately alerted and, "We have identities and locations for all conspirators," Foster reported. They planned to plant a device that would damage the exploration ship's life support, making it appear like an accident caused by incompatible technologies. "Arrest them," ordered, "but do it quietly. We do not want to create panic." Security forces moved quickly on both sides. The conspirators were arrested before they could act. The exploration mission continued without interruption, the crew never knowing how close they came to disaster. This incident became a turning point. When news of the foiled sabotage eventually became public, it sparked widespread outrage. People on both sides condemned the extremists and expressed support for continued cooperation. "These conspirators do not represent us," human leaders declared. "We reject violence and sabotage," imperial officials agreed. The joint exploration mission returned after 6 months with groundbreaking discoveries. They mapped a stable route through the gravitational anomalies and discovered 3 planets with valuable resources. More importantly, the crew had bonded into a cohesive team. "We were strangers when we launched," Commander Pierce said during their return celebration. "We came from different worlds, different cultures, different histories, but we learned to trust each other. We became friends." Greg Barnes agreed. "Working with Imperial crew taught me that our differences make us stronger. We approached problems from different angles and found solutions neither of us would have discovered alone." Their success inspired other joint missions, research teams, trade expeditions, and diplomatic exchanges. The border between human and imperial space became less of a barrier and more of a meeting point. And published their joint research on shield technology. The paper became required reading in academies on both sides. Young scientists and engineers grew up learning that cooperation across civilizations was normal and valuable. A year after the treaty signing, Chancellor and met again at Unity Station for a formal review of their agreement. Both leaders acknowledged the progress but also the challenges that remained. "We still have people who oppose this partnership," said honestly. "They believe we have compromised imperial strength." "And we have people who fear you will eventually betray us," replied. "Trust builds slowly." "Then we continue building it," decided. "Day by day, project by project, until skeptics become believers." They announced expanded cooperation initiatives, joint military training exercises to improve coordination, student exchange programs so young people could learn about each other's cultures, economic development projects in border regions that would benefit both sides. Ambassador watched the announcement and felt pride in what they had accomplished. A year ago, the galaxy seemed headed for war. Now, two major civilizations were building a future together. Lieutenant Foster received another promotion, recognizing his crucial role in protecting the partnership. He continued his intelligence work, always watching for threats but also documenting successes. The extremists are becoming marginalized, Foster reported too. Public opinion has shifted. Most people on both sides now support cooperation. Knew the work was far from finished. We have established peace, now we must maintain it. That is the harder task. On Earth, families watched broadcasts showing humans and working side by side on Unity Station. Children who had grown up hearing about the mysterious vessels that once terrified the Empire now learned about those same vessels as bridges to friendship. In the Empire, students studied human history and culture alongside their own. They learned about Earth's harsh conditions and admired humanity's determination to thrive despite them. The story of how humanity forced the Empire to recognize them as equals became a popular topic. It was taught as an example of how strength without aggression, confidence without arrogance, could change the course of history. On Unity Station, a memorial was built to honor the treaty signing. It featured a simple plaque with words in both human and languages. From chaos came cooperation, from fear came friendship, from conflict came hope. Captain stood before the memorial with Chancellor during its dedication ceremony. They looked at the words together, reflecting on the journey that brought them here. "Do you think this will last?" asked. "Nothing lasts forever," replied honestly. "But we have built something worth preserving, and as long as both our civilizations remember that cooperation serves us better than conflict, we have a chance." They parted as true allies, perhaps even friends. The mysterious vessels that once ignited chaos across the stars had achieved their purpose. Humanity had secured its sovereignty and its future. The Empire had learned that strength could mean different things. And in the vast darkness of space, where two civilizations once prepared for war, ships bearing both human and imperial markings traveled together toward unknown horizons, exploring what they could achieve as partners rather than enemies. The galaxy was large enough for both, and for countless others who might learn from their example that the choice between conflict and cooperation was always worth making carefully, because the consequences echoed across the stars. "I know," agreed, "but I believe it is worth the effort. The alternative is endless conflict, and neither of our civilizations can afford that." They parted as allies, perhaps not yet friends, but with genuine respect for each other. The mysterious vessels that had once ignited chaos across the stars now served as bridges between civilizations. "No," decided. "We will use this as an opportunity to deal with and his conspirators, but we will need your cooperation." Agreed without hesitation. "Tell us what you need." The plan was set. The treaty signing would proceed as scheduled, but both sides would be ready for attack. It was risky, but saw an opportunity to deal with the conspiracy and strengthen the human-imperial partnership at the same time. As the date approached, nobody except a small circle knew what was coming. Believed his plan was secret and perfect. He had no idea that his own officer had exposed him, or that the very peace he wanted to destroy was about to be saved through cooperation between former enemies. "Chancellor, your message has been received. The Empire is prepared to discuss formal diplomatic recognition and establishment of borders. But I have one question. How many humans are there?" There was a pause, then answered. "Chancellor, Earth has a population of 8 billion people. We have colonies on 3 other worlds in Sigma 9, and our civilization is united in the belief that we have the right to exist in peace." 8 billion. The number hit like a physical blow. The entire population across all their worlds was only 5 billion. If humanity could build ships like these, could develop technology that surpassed imperial science, and had 8 billion people to draw from. War was not just unwinnable, it would be suicide. "Then we will talk," said. The message was clear. Nowhere in the Empire was safe. These mysterious visitors could reach anywhere, anytime they chose. looked up at the sky through the council chamber's transparent dome. Somewhere up there, the second vessel floated, watching and waiting. The Empire had always been the hunter. Now, for the first time, they were the ones being watched.